my name is Michelle, and I'm going to do my overview of my clinical interview number 2. So my starting question was: a circular tablecloth has a radius of 2.5 feet. Kyle is sewing a piece of ribbon around the edge of the tablecloth. What is the exact length of ribbon that Kyle needs, and what is this problem asking for? Um, so the problem is asking for the length of the ribbon and the circumference, um, or rather the circumference of the circle or of the tablecloth. And my student was very able to very quickly solve that. In the general analysis that I have going is that he knew 7 out of the 15 questions that I was able to ask well. 6 out of the 15 he did not know well, and 2 out of 15 he didn't know at all. For the does not know at all, the 2 that he wasn't able to answer, the first one being was to draw a picture of a pizza and illustrate the properties of a circle. So I broke that question down by first asking him to draw like a picture of a pizza and then put those slices into a rectangular box. So I drew the box for him, and this is how uh, he formatted his slices. And when that was drawn, I knew that he was not going the route that I needed him to go. And so I dropped that question at that point, because I didn't at the time, and still now, I guess, didn't know how to get him on the track that I needed him to be on in order to get him to connect how concepts of a rectangle and concepts of a circle can be related, and then finding the formula of for area or circumference of a circle from that. So in the future, I definitely would need to prepare better for something like that happening. I know when I did this question in class, I did something similar, and so I think I just need to put myself in those shoes again and think of what would have helped me format those slices into the correct way. For the second question, he didn't know how to answer. It was, how would you find the area and circumference of a donut? I don't think it was so much as he didn't know at all how to answer the question, rather that he was in a rush and just kind of threw out an answer that didn't make sense. Um, we were also on a little bit of a time crunch, so I think that he just threw out an answer. I can't be sure or not if he would have been able to answer it, so that's why I put that in the does not know at all. For the does not know well, these were problems that I had to give some kind of a hint on. So, for example, the main one being, what is the formula for circumference and what is the formula for area? And he combined the two formulas. So he said it's 2 pi r squared, which told me that he has an idea of what the formula is, but that he needed a little bit of a review. So from this question, I went to the pizza question to see if he could derive the formula. And when that failed, I didn't know how to go about it further. So I just went on and told him um, the real formulas. Um, and so, yeah, I don't, again, in the future, I would definitely have to find a way to break that down a little better rather than just outright giving him the answer. But because of my questioning, um, a few of the other problems, he wouldn't have been able to answer them correctly or even really at all, I suppose, without knowing that. So I went on and told him that, and he was like, "Oh, I combined the two." So he knew once I told him circumference was 2 pi r. He was like, "Oh, I combined the two. So area is this." So that made him click and realize what the real things were, but he did need that push. Um, Another one is there a difference between circumference and perimeter? I put that in does not know well because he answered no. Technically, there is a difference. Circumference is for circles and perimeter is for really any other shape. But I put that in does not know well just because he didn't necessarily answer it wrong, because I knew that he knew that circumference is that outline, the ribbon, for example. So I put it in does not know well. And last, or not really last, but one of the last things I'm going to talk about in the does not know well is given only 15.7 as the circumference, can you find the area? So for this question, I had to break this question down a little bit. He wasn't, and initially he said that no, you wouldn't be able to find the area if you were only given the circumference. So I had to break that down a little further and ask him, okay, well, do these formulas have anything in common? To which he said yes, they have radius in common. And so I was like, okay, well, can you solve for just the radius if you're given the circumference? And he was like, yeah, I could solve for that. I was like, okay. So he solved for that, and then I asked him if he could implement what he just found to find area. And he was like, oh, yes, I could do that. And so when I broke it down, he was able to answer the questions and he realized the connection, but he didn't know it just outright. That's how most of those problems went. And those are the problems I went in does not know. I put in does not know well. For knows well, those are mostly the questions in the two lower levels in the remember and the understand. He knew the definitions very well. He was able to label the circle very well. And after all of the previous questions from the does not know well, he was able to answer my more upper level. I believe this was an evaluate about comparing the pizza shops question. He answered it very quickly and was able to take everything that he picked up in those previous questions and implement it into this question, into the pizza shop question. Excuse me. My strategy and resource analysis. I asked a lot of probing questions in order to break down concepts into smaller bits for the interviewee to make connections. I feel like that helped a lot, considering initially he would not have been able to answer this pizza shop question had we not made those previous connections from the does not know well, or turned out to be does not know well questions. Once he was able to make those connections, he did very well in implementing them. I realized that there are some things that I just need to prepare for. So I was prepared to have to break down the formula questions, and I was prepared to have to break down the circumference area relation question. But I wasn't prepared as I probably could have been for the pizza question to break that down further and get him to answer those questions. I realize I'm going to have to prepare a lot better in the future for more conceptual questions like that. My technology analysis, the activity we did as the what would that be? The engage. I felt like it was very helpful because, at least to get the interviewee into the mindset or give them an idea of what the, in this case, interview or the concept was, being parameter, circumference, and area of a circle. So in that sense, I think it was good. I feel like if I just threw the question initially at him, I don't believe it would have gone as well. I think that it would have been more of a shock. So I think introducing the concept with that activity was very helpful. And because in this interview, he did much better than he did in the first interview where I just threw the initial question at him. So in the future, that definitely showed how important that engage or explore activity would be for students, because it does put you in the right mindset of where you need to, or what you need to be thinking about. Yeah, I believe that's everything. Yeah, thank you.